This is how you can make a battery rack pretty simple. Just get your batteries, line them up how you plan to put them in there. Take whatever metal you plan to use. Now we've already made ours, so these are just scraps, not even the right size metal, but to give you an idea. Stick your batteries on here. Just make sure that you get a nice snug fit. Line them up right against the edge. Take another piece, angle iron. Now the easiest way to do it is while you are here, is go ahead and measure from end to end of each section of battery. So go ahead and measure from here to the other end, and you can go ahead and cut it off right at the end. Just go ahead and measure that. Same thing for over here. You measure from here to here. Go ahead and cut that. Then once you've got your cuts made, you can take and put the batteries back in here, overlap them just like that. Just overlap them. Alright, once you've cut all four the same size as your batteries, how your rack's going to be set up, what you want to do is take your chop saw, and as you cut these off, go ahead and cut at the angle, the 45-degree angle. Go ahead and cut one side of each one of them. Now what that does is when you put it back together like this, let's say for example you cut the 90, or excuse me, the 45, and the 45 is on this piece. You want to have that on the bottom side of the overlap. You want to have it on the bottom side of the overlap. And then once you've got all those set up, you can take and just do a quick tack weld just to get it set right in here somewhere. And then what you want to do is it'll look well, not necessarily like that, but the angle will be on the bottom, more so like that. It'll be on the bottom right here. So what you can do is, since it's already put together with your angle, you can either take the chop saw and try to cut through it just like that. You can actually cut through both of them with a chop saw, but if you've got a weak chop saw, it may not make it all the way through or not easily. You can take a angle grinder with a cutting wheel and just put it right up next to the cut you've already made, and just go ahead and cut it right there. That'll make it a real nice and tight, nice and tight match. Once you've got that all done up, I would suggest go ahead and still put your batteries back in. And once you've got it all lined up, and all your batteries, and you've got it as tight as you can get it, make sure everything lines up as much as possible. You can take and go ahead and tack it again right in here somewhere, all the way around it. So once you've tacked it all the way around it, take your batteries out. You can actually take this middle battery out, for example, and put your ground right there, because the rest of it's not going to move once you've got it set. But go ahead and tack weld all the way around, and then take it off, finish welding your rack. Once you've got real nice weld done and everything like that. Everything's good to go. On your outer portion of your rack, you can weld this down a little bit. We welded these smooth to a degree because they're going to paint, but make sure the inside is welded as good as possible. Leave those welds in there. Don't really want to grind them down. You want it really strong. All right, once you've put your battery racks in and determined where exactly you want them, you'll have to figure out where your frame is ran, if you are attaching them to your frame anyway, which you should. Anyway, in order to locate your frame, sometimes if you can't tell by how the car's laid out, or there's no defining marks of any kind, you can actually go up underneath the car and go to the frame and take a drill bit and just drill a small hole on both sides, where kind of along the frame, just a couple here and there, and then you know, put a level or something to kind of give you an idea of where your frame is. But once you've located where your frame is, and then you put your battery rack in and seen where you want it to lay out, he's wanting his rack right here to kind of be flush with the dip here. We want to put our square stock that we're going to run down to the frame, we want to put it right here. So I went ahead and marked where his frame stops on both sides, or his battery rack stops on both sides. And so then I took it off, and I took a spare piece of the square stock that we're going to be using and just traced around it pretty much. And now we want a really tight, clean fit, so really it's just large enough for this piece to go through, and we're actually making a removable rack, so this piece will actually slide down in over another piece, which I'll show later on. So that's pretty much it. You want to cut these out, you know, with whatever you have that can cut it out. I'm going to be using a Dremel because that's the easiest for me to work with in such a delicate little area. Alright, so the hole's been cut now, or the square's been cut now. When you cut it out, you want to cut it out just a little beyond the actual metal, because if it's right on the metal, you know, as the car flexes and the frame does move different from the body, you're going to hear possibly some metal rubbing. So you want to make sure that you get it just barely outside of it and that it's not touching. So what we've decided to do is, and since you can't really weld from the top side very well, we've decided to do a removable rack to where we take some smaller square stock and some larger, and we basically it slides into one another. Okay. Now, what this is for, we're going to cut off a section. It's just some thick angle iron. We're going to cut off a section just beyond the size of the frame, so it can sit right in the center of the frame. Now this is a smaller section that we're going to weld directly to this, and then this is going to be put in from up underneath and then welded along the side of the frame. So after this goes on and it is sticking up through, you're going to take this and slide down onto it, and it's going to go nice and smooth right onto it.
So it's Friday night, everybody else is out cruising, but what better way to spend the night than putting the setup in the 64 Impala. This is called dedication, putting in your work.
And the bolts that connect the crossbar are behind it, so you never see those. And the bolts for the racks are behind it, so you never actually see those. The bolts that connect this to the actual pegs.